GM, everyone. Welcome back to the SolanaFloor weekly recap. I'm Jack Dunham. Finn is unfortunately out of office this week, so we have the one and only Mr. Thomas Bahamas from just across the pond who's going to be holding it down with me today. GMTB, how are we doing?
GM, I am doing great. Happy Friday, everybody. How you doing, Jack?
Happy Friday. I'm doing good. You know, for the first time in a long time, I know we say this on Fridays, we sort of get into this tradey mood. We top last, we throw some money around just before the stream. I feel like for the first time in a long time, I'm going to spend a majority of the weekend trading. Volumes are coming back. ETF inflows are coming back. The trenches are maybe back. There's a bit of a rotation out of Solana memes into Robinhood memes, which to me just says it's not only happening on one chain, it's happening on multiple chains. Probably a good leading indicator as to whether or not we've bottomed, whether or not momentum is coming back, sentiment is shifting. But what's your very high-level take on the last sort of 5 days? It's been quiet as far as news goes, I think, but pretty exciting as far as inflows and volumes. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it just seems like on-chain is back. You know, it seems like there's liquidity here. We've had big runners on Solana. We've got big runners on the Robinhood chain. And I think in general, I mean, the chats are back. I'm seeing meme coins being called out left and right. And it seems like there's a lot of people that are having a lot of fun on chain. So that is what I love the most. So it's a good time.
Fun. Yeah, as you said just before we came on-chain is back. I think that's a good key takeaway. Now, for our audience members, if you do feel that on-chain is back, if you disagree with that statement, let us know. Curious what you think, curious if you're trading again, curious if you're still cautious. We know for a fact that the famous, or the infamous rather, fear and greed index is finally sort of starting to edge out of that fear into more of a neutral stage. But yeah, very much curious to find out what our listeners think of what's happening over the last week. There are some issues that we're going to get into that still need to be resolved before we can confidently say we are back, and we are back for good. Now, TB, we've got a whole bunch of insane updates coming from within the Solana ecosystem this week. We've got Solana prediction markets, we've got meme coins, ETF inflows, plus there's some Solana Seeker alpha that I want to share in a second as well. But very quickly, before we get to all the good stuff, you are not in your usual studio setup. You are actually in a hotel room because you're going to go to a Meta DAO meetup today, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? So if it is correct, before we jump in, why don't you tell us what is happening at this meetup? Because I think you have some interesting questions that you need answered going into it, right?
Yeah. So I am in the city of San Francisco. This is not my normal studio, but we're making it work. And yeah, I'm here for the first inaugural owners meeting that MetaDAO is putting on. So I am very excited about it. You know, MetaDAO is one of the more exciting projects that I think is going on right now, right? And I think it's incredibly important to Solana when it comes down to it, right? Like they're bringing the conversation about, you know, can you fix tokens on Solana? Right? You know, even with big businesses, big projects, they have tokens. And does the value necessarily go back to those tokens? Not always. So they are trying to solve that gap. And I think that I don't know, it's ambitious, but they're trying things. You know, have every single one of their raises gone well? Not necessarily, but they're constantly improving, right? So I think that when we talk about Solana, one of the biggest narratives is going to be, you know, apps on Solana, right?
Yeah.
It's the usable chain for apps, for businesses. Bring your project to Solana. If you're on a different chain and that chain's holding you back, come to Solana. But the flip side of that is come to Solana and launch a token. And when you launch your token, you want users to be users of your app to feel like they can buy it, they can earn it, whatever the method is. You want them to somehow feel like they're gaining something of value. So what they've come up with now is ownership coins, where there is some sort of ownership. You hold the team accountable, and it seems like it's like one of the ways that seems to be working. Is it perfect? I don't think so, but I think that it is ambitious, and it's one of the most interesting projects because they're trying to solve one of the biggest problems. So there's a big group of a bunch of new projects that are raising through there. It's at Coliseum, so Matty Tay's there, and there's a bunch of new projects that just went through the hackathon. So it's going to be exciting. I'm hoping to meet some founders there, hoping to meet some other people. So I can't wait for it.
Very interesting. So what's the biggest problem they're solving then? Aside from, we talk about this, tokens don't accrue value back in the way that they should. It's, it's ongoing narrative, ongoing discussion for years and years now. I think most recent version of that was this token versus equity debate that was raging on about Venice, right? And the token VVV. Hasib came out, Dragonfly, and said, heads up, we are investors in this, but I think Venice is a very powerful project and VVV will accrue value to its owners. And then on top of that, you have equity. So raging discussion. But what's the crux of the issue that this meetup today is aiming to solve?
Yeah, well, I think the core issue that they're trying to solve is it's illegal to issue a security as a token, right? So you can't do that. The SEC will not allow you to do that. So what ends up happening is, you run a protocol, you run a business, you launch a token, and nothing accrues to that token because of that, right? Essentially, you launched a meme coin, where that's not accruing any value to any of the holders, right? You want people to participate. A big part of venture capital investing, getting these small companies into larger companies is you need to raise capital and people need to hold it, right? People need a reason to hold these tokens. Where I think that this is actually like aligning investors, users, and the project owners, right? You're holding these owners accountable so they don't raise $10 million and then walk away with it and say the dev died, right? This holds them
Which has
accountable.
happened.
Yeah,
As
yeah. I
absurd
think
as
they
that
called
sounds.
it definitely, yeah, it definitely has happened, and it holds people accountable where you want them to. I think that there's a lot more guardrails in place in the traditional finance route when it comes to venture. So I think what they're doing is trying to figure out the best way to do it. We've seen tokens are one of the best ways to grow a company early on, incentivize users, but then that leads to what do you do once the project's live, the token's live, right? What is the next step? So they're building that out, and I mean, I think they're doing a pretty good job, right? It's not easy, right? We've seen some raises go wrong. The Zinc project just kind of they basically merged off of the MetaDAO protocol because they didn't want to be held to that standard, is what it seemed like. So they're not without controversy, but it's messy, right? Governance is messy. Governance in crypto particularly is messy. I'm sure we'll see. We've got
We do have
yeah,
a crypto governance mess banger to share with
yeah,
our listeners today as well. But you're absolutely right. It is messy. What I like, I think, is the um, fundamentally it's financial innovation, right? It's governance
yeah.
innovation. A bunch of really, really intelligent people who got together and said, here's a problem. It stems from these regulatory limitations that we have from the SEC, and we're going to try and find creative but also fair ways of sort of circumventing that issue, not necessarily avoiding it altogether. So really curious to see what your takeaway from that meetup is going to be. I know you're going to drop a video for us on Monday or Tuesday next week as well. So for our listeners, definitely follow TB on X. You can check out SolanaFloor's X as well to see what these MetaDAO gigabrains are working on in the background. So let's get into our newsletter in a second. It's been an interesting week. Actually, prices. What are we doing? We have to talk about prices, TB. Prices are, unfortunately, everything at the moment. The be all and end all of it. We are staring at the charts. We are glued to the charts lately. And as I said earlier, finally feels like it's going to be a weekend full of trading. So very quick price check. BTC has, I'm happy to announce, rebounded to 64K. As you know from SolanaFloor's coverage, after Michael Saylor announced that he was selling, or he had sold $216 million of BTC, which was by far the biggest sale ever. Prices dipped to about 62K. Many of the other assets followed. So you can see here that it is now above 64K, up 3.2% on the month. Not too bad. Ethereum's trading at about $1,800. Also up on the month, 8.7%. As we were going into the stream, it was close to 10%, but these things are very, very volatile, as you all know by now. Solana is trying to break above $80 once again. Luckily for us, it is up 20% on the month. So we're seeing huge amounts of momentum return to the trenches. Solana very recently reclaimed number one in network revenue as well across all chains. So congratulations to Ansem, I guess, for reviving the trenches. But Solana's doing good, looking good here. And Zcash also up 15% on the month, above $500 after a terrible, terrible June, where it basically felt like it was going to be the end for ZEC. TV, what was your feeling at the end of June when prices were sort of rebounding, but it dipped all the way, I think, to between $250 and $300 a pop? Did you feel that Zcash would recover, would survive?
I thought it was over. I like Zcash, so I hold a little bit, so I don't want to get too far into it. But it was it was the perfect narrative, right? You know, it was the store value, it was privacy, everything was going on, but the privacy part of it fell apart. So, you know, to see it, you know, it dipped in the 200s, but it was quick and it recovered. And then I was watching it sit at like $400, and I was like, how are people still holding this? And then, you know, you kind of look at it, and I think that the holders of Zcash are like the most hardcore community like for privacy that you'll ever meet. And I think a lot of people just align with it, right? Like it's a pretty
Yeah.
easy narrative to get on board with. And I mean, it's good to see privacy rise, right? You know, we're seeing it come
Yeah.
across to Solana now too. So yeah, I mean, as it was going down though, that did not look good. You know,
It
that
did not
was
look
a
good.
yeah, it was a
It did not
50%
look
drop,
good.
50% plus drop in,
Yeah.
you know, in a day. So it wasn't looking good, but it's holding its own. I mean, Bitcoin's holding its own. Sailor selling is somehow bullish. You know, I don't know why, but yeah.
Yeah, we like the resilience story. Now let's move into some slightly more fun aspects of the on-chain economy. Over in meme coin land, some interesting things are happening. We mentioned that the Ansem meme coin sort of revived the Solana trenches. It was very much in full swing. The Black Bull hit over a $400 million market cap, which was insane. People were saying it's so close to flipping pump, at which point the floodgates are probably going to be open. Slight side note here: it is Pump Fund's 1 year anniversary, 1 year TGE anniversary, I think, in about 2 days. So we're dropping a full explainer on what's happening with the revenues, whether or not there is likely to be an airdrop soon. So you can go and check that out at SolanaFloor website and youtube.com/SolanaFloor as well. But now, interestingly, Robinhood has come out and said, well, Vlad Tenev, rather, the founder of Robinhood, said Robinhood is a great place to trade meme coins. Now, I did not see this happening. I did not think it was going to happen. We have massive, massive runners, meme coin runners over in Robinhood land as well. People are sort of bridging some of their funds over, trading some meme coins. I did what no self-respecting trader should do right before coming on this live stream. I top blasted with very small amounts of money some of the meme coins there, and I'm absolutely convinced that they are all 50% down now. So don't do that. But it's interesting to see that there is activity happening on multiple chains. It's not just the Solana trenches now. And again, I did not see this coming. So CASHCAT specifically is the leading Robinhood meme coin now, gone absolutely parabolic. There was a 4-hour window where the market cap went from about 10 million to over $100 million. I haven't seen that happen in such a short period of time since maybe late 2024, early 2025, when meme coin season was really in full swing. So the liquidity debate is real. Is liquidity being sucked out of Solana and into Robinhood? That's a very real discussion. But it is good to see that this activity is happening in different chains as well. And at the same time, on Solana, of course, we have stocks on Solana as a narrative, RWAs in general exploding. So all in all, it's pointing to a bit of an inflection point, if you will, in sentiment and inflows. I'm happy to report that. But this is the biggest but that we're going to share today, and we'll dive into this in just a second. The Clarity Act is once again stuck. Now, the crypto industry says it's all going to come down to ethics. You've got the Democrat wing, basically led by people like Elizabeth Warren, who are absolutely adamant that we need to do everything we can to stop Donald Trump from making billions of dollars of profit from crypto. And they see attacking the Clarity Act and essentially hindering crypto legislation and clarity as the easiest way to a victory in November. We saw the polymarket odds drop below 50% for the first time since February, where it was at 82%. So, yeah, some things are good, some things are bad. TB, let's get a very quick vibe check from you. Are we watching the start of another leg up, or are we going to sort of chop until maybe early Q3 and then see some parabolic moves? What's your take?
It's hard to say we haven't already bottomed, right? It seems like we've kind of passed peak fear, right? Like it got pretty dark there for a little while. I think that, as always, the market is getting a little bit of heat, right? Like bad news isn't sending the market down anymore. And the
Yep,
liquidity is flying to these memes, like what you said, 10 million to 100 million in 4 hours. Like
it's insane.
it's serious. Like, is
Yeah,
that necessarily new participants to meme coins? Probably not. It's probably the same trenchers that are on Solana that, we're just early to bridge over. But I think it's a good sign, right? And I mean, can you attribute this all to Ansem and making people believe again? You can't,
yeah.
probably not all, but I mean, definitely some of it, right? Like what meme was there that was really running before the Black Bull started running? You've got to give him his props. He definitely brought together like a good group of people and sent that coin super high. And he's still running it. It seems like he has like big plans. You know, we'll see if he follows through on all of
We
it. But
love
he's
the
airdropped.
news. We love
Yeah,
the distribution of value. We love it. And
yeah,
here's an interesting angle. We were talking about whether or not this rotation is going to last, and we are going to dive deeper into what's happening with Robinhood as story number 6 in a second. But here's a comment from One Arm Bandit, longtime listener. He says, "I hope not. No disrespect, but I can't stand Hood." I mean, a lot of people that were around in the 2020, 2021 GME sort of, meme stock era have this idea that we're not going to go back and trade on a platform that actually did us really, really dirty. So let's
yeah.
see. Let's see how
The
long that lasts. But
the
I
real
do
the
want to
real ones
dive.
the real ones remember. You
The
know.
real ones, yes. The North remembers. The real ones will definitely not forget what happened. I do want to dive into Finn's spicy, delicious, informative newsletter here. There's a lot. We do miss Finn. Now, quick reminder that you can earn up to 8% on your Sol through the Sanctum app. It is now live on iOS and Android, as well as the Seeker. So you can go and watch those videos if you want on SolanaFloor's YouTube. But Finn writes, after 2 straight months of relentless outflows, and it was heartbreaking to see this happen, institutional players are flipping bullish. We like to see this. BTC ETFs often lead the way. They are a leading indicator of how bullish or bearish institutions are on crypto as a whole. Even the looming threat of a return to all-out conflict between the US and Iran hasn't been able to keep enthusiasm down, with markets bouncing back swiftly after the initial shock wore off. This is good. Now, people talk about taco trades. Trump always chickens out. One headline, one Truth Social sends oil prices flying, and then he turns around and says, okay, actually, we're probably going to do a deal. And you see prices coming back down to where they arguably should be. Happy to announce that that has once again been the case. On-chain, though, it's been a mixed week. We were saying this earlier. Solana dApp stores, best and brightest, are enjoying their time in sunshine during Seeker Summer. Seeker Summer is now live. Congratulations to the Solana Mobile team. But a clumsy governance blunder may have cost BONK DAO over $21 million in treasury losses. We're going to talk about this one. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's a classic example. I think you and I would agree, TB, that governance is a problem that we just haven't quite solved yet. Happy to announce that it's not a catastrophe for BONK DAO, but it doesn't look good. Now, Ansem did unite the meme coiners. He did bestow the trenches with a long overdue $400 million PVE runner. By the way, the market cap has since dropped to about $200 million, so about 50% down from the peak. Traders have wasted no time casting it aside to chase shiny new meme coins on Robinhood chain. Now, again, I don't know how long that's going to last. My gut feeling is that there'll be one main runner, which has happened. Maybe we'll get another one. We'll have a bit of a trickle down into some of the smaller spin-off copycat memes. And then I suspect at least half, if not 2/3 of that capital is going to flow right back into Solana, given, at least in part, by the fact that TB and I reached this conclusion earlier. The experience just isn't great. It's not amazing, is it? When you're swapping between meme coins or you're trying to play around on the mobile app, it works okay. Slippage isn't great, execution isn't great, and there's still some things that need to be ironed out. Whereas if you're trading on Solana, I don't feel that is the case at all. TB, you've probably
Yeah.
spent a little bit more time than I have testing out the Robinhood chain. What's your sort of one-line takeaway from that?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you appreciate how well Solana runs. You know, it's we were talking about this earlier. A funny analogy would be like the Chat GPT or the Mythos analogy, right? So if you use Solana, it feels like the latest AI model, right? You're using Mythos, you're using 5.6, and then you go back to an older model. You know, you go down to Grok or you go down to Chat GPT 2, and you're like, what is even going on here? Why would I use this? That's a little bit how it feels, right? You know, swaps, I had a couple swaps where it was warning me it was 15, 20%, lower than what I was expecting, right? So it does, it does remind us how good Solana is and how much work has actually gone into where we're at now. But I do expect that to come back to Solana eventually.
It's going to come back. It has to. It always does. It's going to come back. Now, let's talk about story number 1 here. As you can see, the headline is Bitcoin and Solana ETFs see inflows again after weeks of heavy selling. Are we back? This is the crux of every conversation that we're going to be having for the next 3 months, I think. Are we back? And at what point can we truly say we're back? it's so difficult to tell because often by the time everyone agrees, by the time we reach some sort of consensus that we're back, it's maybe not too late, but you've missed some of the upside potential, right? So Ansem tweeted earlier today or late yesterday, actually, something similar, something along these lines. He was saying, look, it's a generational opportunity to start positioning yourself, maybe not to ape balls to the wall, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be missing out on the initial runs of the beginnings of a bull run. So one interesting chart, just to sort of keep it real and grounded, is the 4-year cycle. The last 4 cycles overlaid on top of each other. You see massive parallels. For a long, long time, we were talking about the 4-year cycle being dead. It appears to be playing out once again. So if that is one of the indicators that you're watching, then it probably is a good time to try and figure out how you're going to position yourself for the next few months. And great timing because TB, our one and only senior journalist Finn Miller as well, are going to be launching a trading show for you guys. It's going to be thesis based and very much informational and educational. So do check that out in the coming weeks as well. So what do we have here? June was horrible. Whatever way you look at it, June was a horrible month, right? Zcash imploded. We had $1.8 billion in liquidations. Saylor sold a little bit, and then he sold 216 million. So that was looking really bad. Solana ETFs, despite all of this, recorded $10.4 million in daily net inflows, and Bitcoin ETFs added $772 million in a single day. Now, these numbers are great, but it's the timing that's actually arguably more important because it's a signal that institutions are sort of separating, if you will, in their analysis, the real bottom from a bear trap. TB, what are your key takeaways? Give us some stats from this story.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of went over the biggest stats right there, right? So Solana ETFs bringing in $10.4 million in daily net inflows this week. I mean, that's a lot, right? You know, that is a meaningful amount to bring in. And, you know, the Bitcoin ETFs bringing in $772 million in a day. I think that's pretty significant when you look at it, right? That's one of the largest inflows year to date. And it's institutions buying, right? I think that a lot of this, I think that's who the net buyer of Bitcoin is these days. And I mean, they're bringing in a significant amount of money. Like, does that mean we're back? I don't know if that's like the leading indicator there, but that's showing the confidence that, you know, whatever Saylor is doing, you know, even with his $216 million sale, they have confidence, right? I think that's almost signaling like, all right, he's not going to blow up. You know, now is the time to start buying. And it likely is, right? You know, if you're a long-term holder, you know, whether you buy Bitcoin at 62,000, 55,000, 70,000, right? Like in the long term, that's all going to look like you bought the dip. And I think that's what we're seeing. So I think that's the most interesting takeaway on there. And I mean, I think even ETH was getting a good amount of inflows as well. So people are buying, and you know, the space is interesting. Again, it's investable, I think.
Yep, you can see how bad it was for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months basically of outflows only, and we are just about starting to see the beginning of something that looks nice. We like the green bars, don't we? All right, now Finn also writes, on an even more optimistic note, BTC's 5% rise on the week comes in the face of the heaviest selling we've ever seen from our good friend Michael Saylor. Don't forget that. This was, many people expected the $216 million sale to really be the sort of final nail in the coffin, that the you know, the 9th month of ETF outflows were almost guaranteed because Saylor was selling. That turned out not to be the case. I think that's the biggest lesson that we can learn from this, is that even if Michael Saylor sells, he's probably going to come back and top blast for the next 5 months. So there's some optimism in that.
Yeah, well, and him selling gives him a pretty good runway, right? You know, I think that at the very least, he pushed the ball down the court like a ways, right? You know, he's several months away from needing to do anything major. And if the price of Bitcoin goes up a little bit, he's looking like a genius, right?
Right. Which is, I mean, he's either a genius or he's the dumbest guy in the room as far as sentiment goes, right? Like, it's just, there's no Saylor or Saylor. He's either loved or hated by anyone that talks about him, and I suspect that's going to continue. But another interesting thing that Pablo's written here is Bitcoin, Solana, and hyperliquid investment products attracted fresh capital. It's not just BTC, it's not just Sol, it's across the board. And you know, we were talking about meme coins sort of catching a new wave of excitement, ETFs on the other end. it's important that we see it across different asset classes. Again, stocks on Solana is the third one. Prediction markets, which we're going to get into in a second, is another one. It really feels good. For a long time it hasn't felt good, and now finally it feels good. Shall we switch over to story number 2, which is another, I think, feel good story. This is about Seeker Summer, so something that's very close to my heart. The headline that you can see here is Seeker Summer. Here's everything you need to know. Now, if you haven't already read this, please go to SolanaFloor.com and read the article. Some very interesting bits of alpha that you're going to find in there. Also, next Tuesday, July 14th, we have a live stream with Emmett, the general manager of Solana Mobile. We have 4 builders, including Collector Crypt, which is the hottest TCG project on Solana at the moment as well. They've got some insane stats and milestones to share with us, but also some hidden alpha that we haven't yet actually been able to get our hands on. So it's going to be quite interesting to hear what all the campaigns are about in Seeker Summer. Now, what do we have here? New devices. This is something we've been asking about since maybe late 2024. I think Breakpoint 2024, when it was announced, we said, when are the new devices coming? When is the hardware expansion coming? I think we're going to get an answer to that very soon. We've got some new incentives. We know that the dApp store really recently hit 1,000 apps that are already live. So yeah, these are some of the stats. But TB, you are possibly the biggest Seeker Maxi that I know. You've got so many of them. So what's really standing out to you as far as Seeker Summer here? What gets you excited?
Yeah, so I have 4 Seekers, just to throw that out there. So I do have a lot. I like everything about the Seeker ecosystem, right? So I think the Seeker Summer campaign is going to be awesome. I'm a huge fan of Shipped. I think Emmett is great. They're constantly always shipping things, so it's a great name as well. But I mean, the 1,000+ apps alone, like that kind of blows my mind. I wasn't expecting that many, and I think it's going to keep going, right? People are tinkering, they're making cool apps. So like trying new apps on there is one of my favorite things, like going through and just seeing what people are doing, what's new, like what's fun. I like doing that. And it seems like a lot of other people do too, right? It's 9,000 plus daily active Seeker users. Which I think that's a big win, right? It's over 100,000 were shipped out. I know that, but to actually get people that are daily users like this, I think is big, right? Like the phone is a good phone. Like when it comes down to it, like if you want a good phone, it was a great phone. And I don't know, they threw some good discounts at it. I've got one of mine for Seeker tokens, right? Like it was a great, like it's a great hardware wallet and it's a great phone. So I think that it's
discounts.
just.
This is interesting. I know a lot of our listeners have been dabbling with packs. Recently, Collector Crypt announced that you can rip packs directly from inside your SolFlare wallet, which you and I dabbled in after speaking to co-founder Twom on a live stream that we did. But for Seeker Summer, this is interesting. To celebrate it, Solana Mobile has teamed up with Collector Crypt, so you can grab a Seeker 20% off, and you're going to get a free $50 pack rip as well. So that's limited to the first 5,000 buyers, apparently. Interesting to see how many different projects are finally, and rightly so, coming to appreciate what Toli said months and months ago, which is that the Seeker is the best place to get distribution for your Solana app. And a lot of apps that we're seeing also are built Seeker first and then expanding as well. Here's another reminder for you that the Shipped episode 2 is on the Seeker Summer timeline as well. It's going to be July 14th, Tuesday next week. So tune in for some hidden alpha. But look at this trend. This is the number of dApps launched over time. I really feel that this is going to continue. We've seen Coliseum hackathon submissions, Monolith hackathon submissions, and if you go all the way back to 2020, 21, the number of hackathon submissions is just straight up and to the right. And I think this is going to continue. We were talking with some devs that I can't name as of yet, but they were saying, look, at the end of the day, the Solana mobile software stack is one day, hopefully, going to be in the hands of potentially 2 billion Android users. And that's the holy grail. It has been the holy grail since day one. And I'm really excited to see that happen. So we're going to ask Emmett when this hardware expansion is becoming a reality. But there's also a lot of projects we want to talk to. The SKR economy is, of course, the elephant in the room, if you will, right? So many people have skin in the game here. So much SKR is staked. Here's an amazing map that our designer, SolanaFloor designer Darren Sharat, created. You can go and find all this on the SolanaFloor website. And a final reminder that if you go to solanafloor.com/Seeker, You're going to have the Seeker Hub there with all the current rewards, past rewards, and headlines and most recent updates as well. So a lot is happening for Seeker Summer. Tune in and chat with us on Tuesday if you are around, Tuesday, July 14th, for all the alpha. Now, TB, the next story is unfortunately not so much of a feel good, happy story. We were talking at the beginning of the stream about how we haven't yet solved governance in crypto. And I think this is a prime example. We're not going to get too caught up on this because what's done is done. But the headline, as you can see, is $20 million of Treasury funds lost in BONK DAO governance blunder. It really was a blunder. Someone didn't check what they should have checked. But BONK DAO, the decentralized custodians of Solana's most iconic culture coin, and it really is, have lost over 4 trillion BONK tokens valued at 20 million. I think it turns out to be closer to $21 million because of a public governance proposal. So what happened is the TLDR, one guy went and bought a bunch of BONK. I think it was about $8 million, if I'm not mistaken. And he decided to propose very much publicly this governance proposal to send himself $20 million of BONK. Not enough people voted against it because nobody realized. And he ended up receiving $21 million worth of BONK. So crazy things are happening. Crazier things have happened in the past, but this is definitely a blunder. TB, what's your takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, this one hurts. I'm a big fan of Bonk, the Bonk team. So to see this happen, it breaks my heart a little bit because Bonk is like a central like core to a lot of the Solana history. So I am still a fan of Bonk, and to see this happen, it's just brutal. $20 million from the Bonk DAO, where they were using this fund to like help fund a lot of community initiatives. And it's just sad when you look at it. Like I think about how it was set up, and was there 6 full days for this to be approved? It seems like there was. So I wish that it didn't happen, but it definitely did. But I mean, it leaves the community in a weird spot, right? I think a lot of people kind of looked at Bonk as like the central community coin of Solana. I know that Thep from the OR Foundation brought up, like it was the community coin. We will be buying this dip. Yeah, I think if you scroll down, she had it in there. And
Yeah,
I mean,
there it is.
I think that OR also is doing a great job with community. They're kind of becoming one of the larger communities of Solana as well. But I think supporting them is supporting Bonk, especially. It just feels good. It's always felt good because they supported Solana at its lows. So I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. I know that the attacker has 20 million, maybe $28 million worth of the Bonk token. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know, whether there's negotiations going on. I hope they get that back. I don't think you can dump $28 million worth of Bonk on the open market. But I hope that they can figure it out. What are you thinking about this, Jack?
Well, look, I'm going to echo your sentiment that Thep has come out and just a great representation of how Solana bands together in terrible times. The price has obviously dipped 8%, but can you dump $28 million of anything in this economy on the open market? Probably not. It is being investigated. Law enforcement is involved. To what extent that's going to change anything, I don't know. But yeah, the token is down 8%. I don't expect this to turn into anything more than it already has. I think this is sort of done now, and we're going to learn our lessons the way we did in April and May. We've had a terrible 2 quarters actually of hacks, of exploits, of social engineering, and we are still very much in that process of learning how to deal with these things. So, in the grand scheme of things, $20 million, significantly smaller than the 600 million plus that we lost in 2 quarters to hacks and exploits. So yeah, it hurts. Painful lesson learned. I have a feeling, and we should focus on what Thep is saying here, which is that Solana ecosystem OGs, they've been inspirational, and once the dust settles, I'm sure many people will be buying the dip to show their support. Just going back to something we were talking about. Yes, here we go. One of the comments from the community says, "Not shaking me out of BONK." There you go. I mean, that's
Let's go.
that's the shortest and most simple way of doing it. Another comment is tokens are still out there. It ain't done. Yeah, this is how Solana sort of bands together. But going back to our previous story, somebody commented saying, "I got a 2023 Charizard from ripping packs. Congratulations! I've not been that lucky. So congrats. I'll have to go back to ripping some more packs. But we're going to be talking with Collector Crypt's base Buddha on Tuesday next week. So if you have any questions for him, do tune in and let us know. Don't want to talk too much about the Bonk story because what's done is done. But what we do want to talk about is Sanctum, because we made a couple of videos explaining how the Sanctum Seeker app worked and how simple it was to basically go and stake your soul, get around 8% APY. And Sanctum is one of the OGs out there as well. So happy to report that after the iOS and Android apps were also launched, so that's 3 different mobile devices you can get the app on now, they have reached 9,000 users. It's been a very strong launch week. Congratulations, Sanctum, on reaching 9,000 users and 14,000 SOL in deposits in the first week alone. So the draw card is fixed at 6% APY of staking rewards, which gives users a competitive edge over the network average. And there's all sorts of gamified stuff that you can get involved and check out as well. Finn has covered Sanctum here. You and I have both been using Sanctum for quite a while. TB, what's your key takeaway from the story?
Yeah, I mean, very, very strong launch. And I mean, their growth has been incredible, right? You mentioned all of these hacks and DeFi, $600 billion gone. And all the while, while DeFi was dropping, Sanctum was increasing their TVL. So it just shows, how strong their LST is, how people still are looking for yield, and the INF token and other Sanctum LSTs offer, some of the best yield that you can get on your Solana. So they're well done, great launch. We were using their app on the Seeker. Now everybody can get it. At first I didn't think that a separate app was necessary for staking your tokens. I was like, why would I do this and not just have it in my normal wallet? But then I realized like it's actually kind of nice to have a separate wallet, a separate app for staking. It keeps everything separate. I'm not spamming transactions in and out of that wallet, right? It's just for that. So there's a little extra security when it comes to that. And I mean, it's a fantastic app, right? Like the UI is fun. I think you can actually stream, so you can see, when you actually receive any
Yep.
yield. So it shows you like in real time how you're making money. I think that the psychology on that's good. It's nice to always see that you're making money in an app. So I think it's great, all around. Like we like the Sanctum team. So congrats to them.
We like the app. Yep, as you were saying, despite all the terrible things that were happening across DeFi, not just Solana, but the entire industry, we had these hacks, exploits. Sanctum somehow managed to record 11 straight quarters of SOL-denominated TVL growth. I mean, that chart just speaks for itself. The trust has been built, and Sanctum works. You're getting really good APY. So I think that's why people are choosing to use Sanctum. Once again, congratulations. Now, this is another one that is sort of a round of applause requiring story that we have here. Story number 5, I believe it is. Let's open Finn's newsletter. Solana reclaims #1 spot for network rev after 4 months of on-chain demand exploding. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. Price was going down. We thought, oh my God, it was the end of the world. Sailor sold, ETF outflows, and then somehow Solana's back. Solana is absolutely back. So, I mean, I guess take that to the Solana is overcrowd. On-chain demand is once again exploding. Fees are climbing as you would expect in an ecosystem that has massive amounts of stocks activity, massive amounts of meme coin activity, and all these different retail, different verticals, pardon me, exploding, with Solana now finally having its own Solana native prediction market as well. So it seems that we're touching all the bases that we need to, TB. What are the key numbers coming out of this, and what do you think is driving it the most? Is it the meme coin side of it? Is it the prediction market side of it? Is it stocks on Solana? What's the key driver here?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, it's everything coming together, right? So when you think of Solana, it's an entire economy, and we're starting to see, a lot of different sectors really take off. Obviously, meme coins take off, a lot more revenue comes to the chain. But I mean, that's in the middle of RWAs rising. That's in the middle of a lot of different things happening, right? I think Solana RWAs $3.6 billion, and they added over $500 million in a single week. You have something like that going on, and then PumpSwap comes in and it's got 1.4 million wallets, an all-time high of last week. So Ansem and the meme coin cycle is really driving that. And I think when you look at it, it's on chain, right? So people are on chain and they're really, really doing well. On top of that, we've got Jupiter, Camino, Pump Fund, Collector Card. So they're all posting strong revenues. So it's when you look at it, it's hard to compare Solana to anywhere else because there's so many different sectors and all of them are heating up at once. So, like when I think of it, it's like the everything chain, the market for everything. It really is doing that, right? And people are going to say it's just the meme coin chain. It's not, right? The meme coin is like the cherry on the top of everything else that's going on. So it's really good to see this. Ethereum, Ethereum's fees are higher, and it's, I don't know, their L2 activity. I think we'll be able to see a lot more of this come out with the Robinhood chain. I think that that debate will come back about L2s versus the L1. Do we need it? Where it's like you don't have to think about all that with Solana, right? With Solana, it's like, hey, we got stocks in blocks. We've got memes if you want them. We've got fantastic trading platforms. I've been testing out the new JTX platform. I'm pumped for it. So there's just so much going on right now that like it's hard to not be excited.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Worth reiterating that we had Lucas on last month for an episode of The Big Picture. He sort of introduced the idea behind JTX, this prosumer-facing trading platform that's by, I think, most ways of looking at it, going to be the most comprehensive trading platform on Solana. It is being built. I'm fairly confident that soon after launch, which I believe is the 14th of July, by the way, so 4 days from now.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, should be coming out very, very live. Beta testing is open. So if you are beta testing it, let us know what your first sort of takeaways from using JTX have been. But it certainly looks like meme coins, prediction markets, perps, spot, anything that you want to trade on Solana is going to be tradable soon through JTX. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. And it just sort of agrees with this idea that, Q2 showed very broad growth. It's not just meme coins. It's not just stocks. It's everything. And when we talk about a maturing ecosystem, a maturing network, that's what we want to see. So I'm happy. And obviously, the revenue reflects real usage, as Chase mentioned in his one of his very, very long articles that he likes to sort of grace us with. Now, Moonship ETH says Robinhood stealing attention.
Yeah.
You know why that's interesting? Because the next story that we're going to talk about is all about Solana meme coin traders flocking to Robinhood. So perfect timing. I have a feeling Moonship ETH is reading the newsletter. So he's sort of front running what we're going to talk about before we even get there. Let's pull up the newsletter again. Headline, as you can see, Solana meme coin traders flock to Robinhood. Will it last? I don't think so. My gut feeling is that it's not going to last. And long list of reasons why I don't think it's going to last. It's never lasted in the past. But Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev sucked the liquidity from Solana's meme coin economy in a single tweet. That did happen. This is true, causing degens to bridge over to the TradFi firm's newly launched L2. Tenev's claim is that the chain was great for meme coins. Now, CASHCAT, if you have seen this and you missed it, you're probably kicking yourself now. Went on to a blistering $140 million market cap run. We mentioned earlier that the market cap went from about $10 million to over $100 million in the space of 4 hours. I would argue that a large amount of that volume came from people bridging from Solana. We saw in a very similar time period the market cap of Ansem dropping from $400 million to about $200 million. So I suspect there's a strong correlation there of Ansem dropping in market cap and CASHCAT and all the other Robinhood meme coins exploding. I don't think it's going to last. TB, you've been following this. You've top blasted as much as I have. I've definitely not checked what's happening with my Robinhood memes since we came live. But what is your key takeaway, A, from this story, and B, as to whether or not it's going to last? Or are we going to see a rotation back into Solana meme coins soon?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty exciting launch, right? So I think there is over $1 billion in DEX volume in a day, which is really big, right? And FOMO just launched the Robinhood chain on its app. So you can trade it pretty easily, right? So you can trade any of these memes, you can trade any of the Solana memes. So, whatever memes have liquidity, whatever, runners there are, people can get to them. Um, the early adoption is very strong. I think when it comes down to it, Robinhood is very retail focused. So I think we're seeing that happen, right? The question that I have though is, are these new traders, or is this just a new chain that people are coming to, and it's the same Solana trenchers that are just coming over, and there aren't as great of tools yet, right? Like FOMO just launched, there was a day without FOMO, so it was pretty hard. Like, were you using BaseBot, or what were you using to actually trade these? So I think that anytime a new chain comes out, there is like a knowledge gap, and because of that, coins don't people aren't dumping coins right away. So there is a little bit more of like, hey, this is going to be a runner. I think a lot of times the early coins do tend to do better on a chain. So I think it's an interesting time. And I think why this is so interesting to me is that historically Coinbase has been the exchange for retail, right? That
Hmm.
was where they traded
Yep.
crypto when there's a bull market, Coinbase is going down because retail is rushing to it. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that Robinhood is more of the retail exchange. They have crypto on it, they have stocks, they have like memes, they have all of this already. So for them to move into on chain and move into their own chain, I think is important. Um, and I think in general, like, I think liquidity isn't like being sucked out from one ecosystem to the other. I think it all rises, right? So I think on chain activity in general is rising, and I think that this is playing a big part of it. People are calling their coins out, and it seems like they're making some money now. We will see how long that goes. I don't think this is going to be, the forever meme coin chain, but
No.
they are encouraging it. I don't think, we talked about this a little bit before, but I don't think the experience is as good on it as it is on Solana. So I think that's going to be a problem. But they have the people, right? That's really what matters, is getting people on there. But it's
Yeah.
the problem with where they're at is like, people aren't using Robinhood chain specifically to use Robinhood chain. They're coming to it for runners, right? Once those runners dry out, what do they have?
You're
Um,
absolutely
so
right. Yeah,
yeah,
this
so
this I think is my takeaway as well. It's very much mercenary capital, I
yeah,
feel,
yeah,
and we've seen this rotation out of Solana trenches and into other chains in the past, and chances are it's at least in large part going to come right back to Solana. Now, some interesting stats I want to share here, though. On-chain data suggests that Robinhood has recorded over $405 million in 24-hour trading volume, so that's good. Solana still reigns supreme, with its meme coin sector capturing over $440 million in the same time span. So, I mean, fine, you can split it 50-50, but it's not like Solana's dried up because Robinhood has launched this. That being said, Robinhood is growing at an impressive trajectory. Of the 90,000 active addresses, over 50,000 accounts are new wallets, suggesting a strong mix of new and returning users. I think that's quite an interesting argument that Finn makes in this article here, is that there's a lot of returning users, right? So overall, it's probably net positive for bringing people back into crypto, bringing attention and capital back into crypto.
yeah.
Um, 25,000 new users, it's not moving the needle in any significant way. And I think Vlad also realizes this, right? So the capturing some of that meme coin activity is probably great for attention. But at the end of the day, he says it himself here, building Robinhood chain to be the best chain for real world assets. That's where it really comes down to, I think. And on top of all of this, Pump Fun has now also made it possible to trade Robinhood memes as well, because they say they're now available, no bridging, trade seamlessly, trade everything, trending Robinhood tokens. So look, it's not necessarily a cutthroat tribalism that's emerging here between Robinhood, the TradFi L2, and Solana meme coin trenches. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth. But Finn also reminds us that this happened in 2025's BNB week. It's quite a savage way of
Yeah.
phrasing it as well. It was, a week or 2 weeks, and then everyone came flooding back into Solana. I have a sneaky suspicion we're going to see something very similar. TB, yes or no? Look at this. And back to Sol, everyone goes. I think this is going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I actually think, who the biggest competitor and who the biggest loser on this is going to be is Base. Base was the L2 on Ethereum that had the most use. It had some memes, and I kind of wanted to compare it a little bit to LinkedIn, where it's like performative crypto. Yeah, I want to ask you, like, what did you feel the last time that you logged into LinkedIn?
Cringe.
Yes, and that is what the base app is. It's people announcing, I am pleased to announce that I have purchased the Jesse Creator coin and I am a large supporter of it. Like that's what it feels like to me, where I don't see that with Robinhood as much, right?
Yeah, that's savage. But I can't disagree with you. Just to sort of build on that, if you do want, I think, a sort of representation of what LinkedIn really has become, go on Reddit. There's a subreddit called LinkedIn Lunatics, where people just share some of the most absurd, performative, look at me type of posts that they see on LinkedIn, and I mean it is outrageous. So comparing LinkedIn to Base, I think just says it all. Thank you very much, TV. Moonshipede says crazy people want to use and build on a blockchain owned by a centralized exchange. Base. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
There you go. Nothing more to be said on that front. We don't want to contribute too much more to tribalism, but what we do want to do is go through our honorable mentions right before we get to the stat of the week and, of course, the state of Solana in a tweet, which we love to discuss every week. So Finn has compiled these for us. I'm going to go through them quick fire in his absence. And then, TB, I'm curious what your favorite is. I'm yet to be sort of convinced of what my favorite here is. But the honorable mentions of this week: Phoenix Trade introduces splines, enabling more efficient liquidity repositioning. Alvarez and Marcel accepted its first client payment in USDC on Solana. This is a management consulting firm. Velocity Exchange, formerly Drift, has enabled insurance fund withdrawals. Claynosaur's Hebo Studio unveils Hebo token ICO powered by Metaplex. Kintara, the gaming name that we mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago, hits 30,000 monthly players. Congratulations on that milestone. And this is interesting. World.xyz prediction market taps $1 million in daily volume on Solana as daily active users surpass 3,000. This is huge. World.xyz has made so much noise with an incredible marketing campaign. So I think it only makes sense now that the brightest, noisiest, loudest Solana native prediction market is hitting $1 million in daily volume, and of course 3,000 daily active users as well. Congratulations, World.xyz. TB, over to you. What's your favorite here?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the world.xyz. I am such a fan. Like their Robinhood tweet yesterday, how they were leaving Solana for Robinhood. Like they didn't follow it up for so long, saying that they were joking. Like their marketing is just fantastic. And I want to get to the bottom of these prediction markets, right? Like I haven't used them enough. So one of the things that I want to get out of our new show, Trading Floor, is trading the markets that I don't necessarily understand that well. One of them is going to be prediction markets. So we want somebody from the world to come on and show us, how do we actually trade these? Where are people trading? Where are people making money? Because I think there's a lot of edge there, right? Like I don't see there being as much edge in a lot of these perps markets, right? So I want to find those type of trades. Also, we want to get into stocks on chain as well. I think there's like over 400 different stocks that you can buy on Solana right now, which leads me to the question is like, which one do I buy? So
Probably the one with most liquidity, right?
yeah, that's probably like the natural one I'd go after. But I don't know. There's so much trading going on Solana that like I need it to be narrowed down a little bit. So I'm excited to dig into that on Trading Floor. But
Yep.
sorry for promoting my own stream coming up. But
No,
let's go
as
to
you
your turn.
should. As you should. It's gonna be very interesting. I'll be behind the scenes making sure everything runs smoothly there as well. Now, gun to my head, what's my favorite here? It's a tough one.
It
It's a
is.
really tough one. I was thinking about why on earth would a management consulting firm accept client payments in USDC? Then I realized, oh, well, it's on Solana. It's probably going to be good. But it's, if you read between the lines, the reason why I like this one more than the others is because there's obviously clients that need management consulting, which already puts them in a certain category of maturity, certain category of revenue, of cash flow, of a treasury. And now they're using USDC on Solana to pay for management consulting services. So, I mean, it's probably more bullish than it sounds at first glance. So I'm going to go with that one. I think we have a small typo here. I believe it should be Alvarez and Marcel. I'm not sure. Do correct us if that is the case, but I'm going to vote the management consulting firms accepting payment in USDC on Solana is probably more bullish than we give it credit for. Now, Solana joins the prediction market race. This is a video that you made recently, TB. Very interesting facial expression there. It is a 60 billion. It's expected to be a $60 billion market by the end of the year. So CASHCAT, as you know, is raising about $1 billion at a $40 billion valuation. Polymarkets, $12 to $13 billion valuation at the moment. We don't know what world.xyz is going to be valued at, but if the 3,000 daily active users and $1 million in daily volume is any indication, that number is going to go very, very high. Let me know what you think in the comments. Another reminder here that you can stake your SOL through the Sanctum app on the Seeker, on iOS, and on Android. Great way to get up to 8% APY. Now, stat of the week. USDC share of Solana stablecoins has dropped to 46%, its lowest level in more than 2 years. We've been talking about the so-called stablecoin wars. I'm not sure if we coined that term or if someone else did and we sort of ran with it, but we've been talking about this for a long, long time. You can see just about beginning of 2024, so late 2023, USDC's market share on Solana goes parabolic. They owned it pretty much for the longest time, and now it's declining. So there's a lot to be said about this, but very high level. What's your key takeaway here, TV?
I still think 46% of all of it is pretty strong, right? Like that they still have a pretty dominant business going on. So they're still doing great. Like we do like to see other stable coins come on. But I don't know. USDC, it's a good business. Circle's strong. It's sturdy. They've been through a lot. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. We touched on this last week, but like when I use stable coins, like I end up using USDC just because like I know that that's it's going to be solid, and that's what a lot of places take, right? Like I
It's
made a
hard
pay.
to break a pattern, right? Once you have a habit of using USDC as the sort of default stable coin in your wallet or in your sort of trading habits, it's difficult to break out of that pattern. And I
Yeah.
think maybe 2 months ago or something, you, Finn, and I were discussing what the floor is, what the bottom, sort of the lowest level of market share dominance for USDC on Solana is going to be. I think we sort of agreed that between 40 and 50% for the foreseeable future. Now, interesting development though is OpenUSD. Right,
Yeah.
OUSD is this new stablecoin that was launched by a Wall Street consortium of over 140 names. BlackRock, Visa, absolutely humongous names. They also, in their press release, claimed that a few Korean companies, including Samsung, were on board. Samsung then came out and said that no, that's actually not the case, regardless of the sort of communications shenanigans going on there. Circle's stock did dip by about 17%. I think it's recovered somewhat since then. But this last sort of slow decline that you're seeing is partly to do with the announcement of OUSD, which is going to be live on Solana from day one, if and when it does happen. I don't know. Do you feel like it's going to be an absolute catastrophe, or for Circle specifically, or because Circle is a trusted name, USDC is just the default stablecoin that people use on Solana, and it has been for a long, long time, that we're probably bottoming as far as Circle's USDC's market share dominance on Solana? What do you think?
I think the dominance goes down, but I don't see it being a quick, they're not going to drop 20% in a day, right? Like, I don't know how many years Circle has been in business, but like they're pretty OG at this point. Like, it's got to
Yeah.
be over 5-6 years. Like their coin is solid, right? And the problem too is like USDC was integrated into Solana from the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like it was their day one where it was very easy to use, and it was actually like a big plus for the ecosystem to have a stable coin that was reliable for them, and made it through a ton of trying times. So they've made it through a lot of that. But I mean, you would imagine even if OpenUSD is a massive smash, everybody loves it. Like, it's brand new. They don't have the years of experience. So like I don't know. I would imagine they'll probably come out with like a good, some good DeFi pools you can put your money in and maybe get a higher yield in some of them, like some sort of incentive campaigns, which will be nice. But those haven't really proven to last too long. So I don't know what their strategy is going to be. We did see USD1 from World Liberty actually make a meaningful impact right away, right? Like they came out with a ton of campaigns, and they took a lot of like market share away in the beginning. I don't think that lasted. I
It
think
did not.
I think people have some issues with World Liberty Fi, and like I personally wouldn't really want to hold the coin. Like, is it a great coin? I don't know, but it seems solid. But I'd rather go with USDC at this
Yep,
point.
I agree. Two reasons why I think you're absolutely spot on here is that primarily we saw this happen with USD1. I think there was about $2 billion of fresh liquidity that came in there through the Abu Dhabi-based
Yeah.
fund. I think CZ was involved in that deal as well. And for a very short period of time, the World Liberty Fi senior leadership was doing the sort of media round saying, look, we're the fastest growing stablecoin on earth right now. They had some great incentives. It didn't last. And the second reason why I agree with you, TB, is because Kathy Wood agrees with you. And if Kathy says it's not going to happen, it's probably not going to happen. So,
Wait, is Kathy you go along with her, or is she the inverse trader for you?
it depends. So in this instance, I'm going to go with Kathy. I mean, back in 2020, 2021, she really made a name for herself with ARK Invest, and they had the
Yeah.
innovation fund as well, and some massive bets. But then there's also some rightly hilarious memes of Kathy Wood running, head first into some terrible investments.
Yes.
So
Or selling the
y-
bottom, like
there
that
you
type of
go.
thing. But overall,
You win
like,
some, you lose
she's
some.
yeah. Overall,
Yeah.
she's up quite a
I
bit.
think
I think.
rather than following her investment decisions, and I have a sneaky suspicion she owns a significant amount of Circle stock, which is why she came out and said this. But her analysis at a high level tends to be quite spot on at times. And as far as market dominance goes, she's saying, "Look, Circle's been around for a long, long time. It's trusted. It has the network effect. Stablecoins are built on network effects. We're probably not going to see a massive rotation out of Circle and into OpenUSD." And she thinks it's not going to be a catastrophe. So yes, I'm sure she has some financial motivation to say that, but I am inclined in this instance to agree with her. Now, State of Solana in a tweet. We couldn't have this stream without talking about an Ansem tweet, right? He has given us so much to talk about, a lot to trade in the last couple of weeks. He's reinvigorated the meme coin trenches on Solana. So he says, "I won't forget you sissies who didn't want to bid anything last week, but now want to top blast the corpo chain that delisted Solana at the stone bottom. The North remembers." Absolutely spot on tweet here. I mean, it doesn't really need any more explaining. People are rushing to Robinhood for the runners. We expect it to be largely mercenary capital rather than people that want to use Robinhood chain. If you think back to 2020, 2021, the whole GameStop meme stock saga, and they delisted Solana, made it very difficult for a lot of people to actually avoid losing money, is one way of
I
putting
think
it. So
it was worse than delisting it. They force sold anybody holding Solana like
yeah,
at $10. So if you were holding Solana on Robinhood, they sold it for you at the stone bottom and delisted it. So I mean, it's hard to really be cheering for them. I'm looking at it, from a large perspective, though, and I think that on-chain activity is good, and it's a net positive for crypto in general. But like, if you want to talk about, versus the Solana community, it's like they did us pretty dirty, you know?
yeah, they absolutely did. They did so many people so dirty that Vlad Tenev ended up having to testify.
Yeah.
I think it was during COVID, during like the peak of the lockdown period as well. And he was in the safety of his room, I'm sure, with all of his advisors there. And it was very difficult to listen to Senate hearing. So, yes, the North remembers. Thank you very much, Anson, for that. Now, that is the week of Solana. It's been pretty crazy. I think in some sense, network activity returning, starting from the bottom with meme coins is very exciting, but ETF inflows are also returning. Sanctum has 9,000 new users on their app, which is now live on the iOS store, on Android, and of course on Seekers. So yeah, every layer of the funnel I think is firing. The foundation is talking about stocks on Solana. We have prediction markets that are happening. We have all sorts of activity on Solana that really, I think, is a leading indicator of what's to come as far as price goes. Let's see when we actually end up having bottomed. No one can really tell. But yeah, having all these different signals, I think, firing off really signals to me that we are at an inflection point. Maybe it's already happened. Maybe it's going to be happening in October. But my final question to you, TB, is Robinhood adding meme coins? And Vlad coming out and saying it's not just real world assets, it's also good for memes. Is that actually good for Solana in the long run? Or is this short term siphoning of value and volume to a custodial venue? Just does it signal that people have no idea what's going on?
I think it's net positive for Solana. I think that a lot of where people are trading these coins is they're pretty chain agnostic at this point, right? Like if you use FOMO, like it doesn't matter what chain you're trading on, right? You're not going after the specific chain. You're going after the specific runners. And you know, if it's one thing that we've seen, you know, meme coins are very resilient on Solana, right? You know, people will call Pump Fund dead, and then they'll pull in, you know, $500 million in a month or whatever it is. You know, they've made over $1 billion in revenue in a year. Like Pump Fund has just crushed it, and I think a lot of that is like the execution and, you know, liquidity and everything set very well on Solana for this, right? You know, you can call the trenches whatever you want, but they're not going away. You know, I think is what it comes down to. You know, I kept mentioning this, but I think that the liquidity for any meme coins is good for all meme coins, right? So I think that we're going to continue to see them. You know, I'm curious to see how the Ansem coin goes. Like that's just been really exciting to watch. You know, I've been sidelined, so I didn't make millions off of it. But it's been fun to watch, and I mean, it's fun to watch the Robinhood coins go off too, right? You know, people are making money, they're back, and you know, I think I do think that most of that money ultimately will flow back to Solana, but
Yeah.
you know, it might take a little while.
I feel it's inevitable. Now, TB, you're off to the MetaDAO meetup today, so I don't want to
Yeah,
keep you away from that. I'm sure stimulating set of conversations too much longer. Let us know what your thoughts are after that meetup. For our
definitely.
listeners, please head to SolanaFloor.com, subscribe to Finn's delicious newsletter. He's going to be back next week. He'll be with us, talking us through all the stories, and of course, the trading floor is launching very, very soon. That's your most important alpha this week that I can share with you. Next Tuesday, we have on the 14th at 11 a.m. Eastern, shipped episode 2 with Emmett, with Collector Crypt, and a whole bunch of builders that you definitely don't want to miss out on listening to. TB, thank you very much for your time. As always, I appreciate it, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everyone.